is, in fact, Danny Bonaduce, life coach, the Rick Jones edition. Call me right now, 1-800-252-1025. Life coach, by the way, it is all brought to you by Rick Jones and Goldberg Jones, Divorce for Men. Let's talk to John in Redwood. Hiya, John.
Well, I was hoping to travel to the Philippines with my 11-year-old daughter, and I wanted to say that Goldberg and Jones represented me in my original custody case with great success.
I was afraid to ask because he's like right here, but of course they did a great job, right? Right.
Colin, yeah.
Okay, so what do you want to know, man?
Well, I'd like to travel out of the country, but my ex is adamantly saying no. And so I want to know if it's unreasonable to want to travel to the Philippines with my daughter, or and if I could find a way to make that happen. She says no.
Well, it's certainly not unreasonable to want to travel to the Philippines.
Right, I was thinking that.
So that's it. No.
Is there a reason that she doesn't want your kid to go to the Philippines with you?
She doesn't like me very much.
Oh, okay. So it's not that it's unsafe. She's heard bad things. The food's bad. This is all about you, right?
Yeah, well, those are her reasons, of course. But my defense is that every place could be unsafe if you go to the wrong areas. But we're going to safe areas.
If you go with me.
There.
All right, so this seems like a real-life question. Rick, what can he do? His wife doesn't want him to take the kid out of the country.
Sure. Well, for the most part, that's not his problem, unless, John, in your parenting plan, is there any restrictions on either of you for traveling out of the country with the child?
So the parenting plan has expired for a couple of years, but the original plan had no restrictions for traveling out of the country. And she says it's okay for me to travel to Paris or Canada, but not...
So she's a racist.
Yeah.
Not to where I want to go, is the Philippines, yeah.
Yeah, well, she's not the one to listen to. It's the court, and the word of the court, which would be the parenting plan. You're baffling me a little bit by the concept of a parenting plan expiring.
Okay.
Was it a divorce?
Does that mean?
I had the parenting plan. It was set up, and it expired in 2013. I don't know if it expired, but it just didn't go past that point. We had everything written out until 2013. After that, then we're kind of on our own.
Hey, John, how old is your daughter?
11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the only time a parenting plan expires is when the child turns 18 and they're no longer a child.
And then not even then if they go to college, little bastards.
Right.
Yeah, what I would recommend, John, is to hit the courthouse that we did your divorce in, and there will be a parenting plan. Actually, if it's even been within the last 10 years, call my office, and we probably have a copy of the parenting plan. Let us take a look at that and maybe answer a little bit more specifically, because as long as there's no restrictions on out-of-country travel, then it's your time. That's it.
All right. Look at that. Just call my office because we might already have it on file. That's why you love Rick Jones.
Can't restrict on where you're taking your kid if it's not in the parenting plan.
Cool. Thanks, John.
All right. Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones, 1-800-DIVORCE is here in studio. If you have any questions regarding divorce, this would be a great date to call, 800-252-1025. Dave in Eatonville, you're on with Danny Bonaduce and Rick Jones.
Hey, Dave.
Morning. Hey, guys. Hey, so I got a question. I've had custody of our two daughters since they were 9 months and 18 months old. Now they're 7 and 9. And my ex-wife pops in every couple of years, I'm clean and sober, I got it together, and then fades out 3 weeks later. And I'm wondering, how long without contact of any kind from her, it's been a while now, is she considered an abandoning parent, and my current wife can adopt them?
Wow, what a great question.
Mm-hmm. Well, the concept of abandonment isn't really kind of apropos these days. You already have a parenting plan, right?
Correct. She hasn't followed it at all.
That's okay. What you might want to consider doing at this point is to do what's called a modification of the parenting plan, where you're able to account to the court of how uninvolved she's been, the fact that she's completely absent on this. She gets served those papers. She either chooses to try and defend that or not. If you're successful in modifying, you can put clauses in place, especially with the issue of her sobriety, put clauses in place that require some sort of a treatment program and completion, perhaps supervised visitation. All of these things are hurdles that it sounds like she's never going to be able to jump over. So that's going to have the same effect, partially, that you're looking for, of kind of stopping her from coming in every couple of years into the children's life. The other issue of adoption, maybe the leverage you have there is if there's a child support order. I assume she's behind on it, correct?
Years, yeah.
Okay.
Wow, great though.
Here's the other deal. Then you actually have a bargaining chip with the back child support that's due, and to the extent that she agrees, because you do need her consent for an adoption, then you may see fit to waive some of that.
That's an excellent. I saw the gears working in that. That was an excellent answer.
800-252-1025. Call that number now with any questions for Danny Bonaduce, life coach, or for Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones, Divorce for Men. Let's put you on next with Tim in Tacoma.
Hiya, Tim.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy?
How's it going? Hey, I was just debating for the last year or so if it's best for me to get a divorce.
So are you married right now and you're calling up right now to see if you should get a divorce?
Yes, Danny.
All right, man. So here's my vote because I love you, man. If you need to call up a morning radio show to find out if you need a divorce, the answer is yes. You need a divorce. Any more questions?
That's what I was probably figuring. But I have a kid who's 14. I was wondering if I should wait for a few years till my kid's out of high school, or go ahead and do it now.
Well, I'll jump in on this one. It really is a personal choice and a question and a topic you probably want to talk to your friends and family about. Obviously, not your wife.
Right.
But the reason why I say that is there's some pros and cons to anything. If you and I sat down for a bit, maybe we would explore it. But the reality is, if your concern is that she would end up having custody of the child and be very difficult to deal with, then it might be a rough 4 years until your child's 18 and you can establish a separate relationship. The flip side of this is this, I should say, which is life is short.
Right.
And waiting 4 years in a marriage that's extremely uncomfortable and unsatisfying probably isn't something that sounds too satisfactory to most listeners out there.
I thought that when he was saying it, when Tim was saying it, that every time I've ever gotten a divorce, by the time the divorces come around, I hate them, to be honest with you. I hate them. And if I thought, hey, I'll get a little extra money or I'll get this to stay in close confinement with any of those women, that would drive me crazy. So I'm going to be with Rick on this. That life is short, and if it's uncomfortable, it's going to stay uncomfortable, and it's going to get worse. You should file for divorce.
And stay together for the kids.
That never works.
No.
That never works.
No.
Dr. Phil, and I don't usually quote Dr. Phil during Life Coach, but Dr. Phil once said to me, staying in a bad marriage, I forget exactly the quote, but staying in a bad marriage for the kids never works. Whatever it was that made you need a divorce got worse over time.
If you've got a
When
question
he said it.
about divorce, parenting plan, child support, custody, anything of that nature, today would be the day to call the life coach because Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones is here. You know that Life Coach is brought to you by Goldberg Jones, Divorce for Men. And today he is here answering your questions for free. 800-252-1025. Call if you've got those sorts of questions. Jay calling from historic Kent. You are on with Danny Bonaduce and Rick Jones.
Good morning, Jay. How are you?
Hey, guys. Hey, I'm doing pretty good. And, Rick, thanks for joining Danny on these segments. They're really helpful.
I enjoy it a lot.
I love hearing that. But, yeah, you're right, because, you hear some of the stuff, and like you said, you did my divorce. We met a happy customer of Rick's. But I get this on the street. That Life Coach segment was really helpful to me.
Yeah.
So what up, buddy?
Well, I have a child who is over the age of 18, who is still in high school and is planning on getting married. Coming up fairly quickly, and I'm wondering what happens at that point where she's no longer a dependent child. Do I still have to pay child support?
Is there anything you can do to stop her? She's 18, she's still in high school, and she wants to get married. That's all going to end badly. You know that's going to end badly.
Unfortunately, I don't really have any contact or relationship with her.
My daughter's 19 and half her head is shaved and has tattoos on both her feet. Now, sometimes there's a limited amount your dad can do.
So what happens with the child support? That's your question, Jay?
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually a great question, Jay. Thinking through it, I've actually had to deal with this once before. Ultimately, if the child is still, 18 or still in high school, the child support still exists, which is what Jay is talking about. Now, the concern, one of two things is going to happen. Either the money goes to, if she's still living at home, the money, yes, would still go to the mother as long as she's still under the guise of child support, and the mother still is required to spend it. Now, the reality is that's probably not going to be the case. I assume she's going to be living with the husband somewhere else. And if that's the case, then any child support that's due, you can go to the court to seek what's called a minor modification of this and explain to the court what's going on and basically say if there's going to be any child support, then that child support should be going directly to the daughter. because
Right.
she's now an adult.
Cutting out the middleman.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it, Jay. I appreciate the phone call on that, but I just think that's all bad. I'm still paying
know.
child support for a person in high school with a gun to get married. That's what a pickle that man is in. But I hope Rick Jones helped, and he usually does.
Reagan Edmonds, you are up next on Danny Bonaduce Life Coach with special guest Rick Jones from 1-800-DIVORCE.
Yes, how you doing?
Well, good.
I just got a modification that I went to court for. My daughter turned 18, going to WSU. I was ordered by the judge to directly pay WSU part of her tuition. Now, I just recently got served with some papers saying that now they want me to send the money to the Washington Child Support Agency, which I don't understand when the judge ordered me to make the payment directly to the school. What do I do?
Before Rick answers, and he will, let me just say congratulations. You know, you take all these phone calls, and you got a kid locked in at college. Congratulations. All right, Rick.
Sure. Well, obviously, there's some confusion in the process, and it doesn't sound like it's your confusion. It sounds like you're properly confused. But ultimately, if you've got a court order that says one thing and you've got the administrative agency saying another, the real key is you just want to make sure that you can explain it in your words. For example, if the state's the one trying to seek you to pay them, show them the copy of this support order that the judge signed and said, you tell me. And worst case scenario is you get back in front of the same judge and say, Judge, here's the problem. You told me to do this. I've got somebody else telling me to do that. And you're the one that wants to stay out of trouble on this.
Right. But it's a high-class problem, is it not?
Absolutely.
One's to a college, one's for the state, but it's all to the judge. This is a good problem to have because I'm hooked into this kid that's going to college and things. This is a high-class problem.
Mike and Freeland, you are the next caller on Danny Bonaduce Life Coach with Rick Jones from Goldberg Jones.
Yes, I'm paying tuition for my daughter in college. If she is emancipated, would she then be considered an indigent and then have, have a break in tuition fees and so forth, or am I still on the hook for her tuition?
The fact that you know all these terms leads me to believe that you've been doing some thinking on this. Rick?
Yeah, you're still on the hook for her tuition.
Yeah.
In your support order, there's what's called a post-secondary education clause, and that obviously was either done by agreement or through trial, more likely through agreement. And so that obligation really does continue. The only way that obligation ends is if your child is no longer, currently enrolled and on a progressive way to her degree.
All right. Cool. Good luck. We'll hang in. That's all the time we have right now. That's all of the time we have for Danny. Oh, my God, we're late. That's all the time we have for Danny Bonaduce, Life Coach, starring Rick Jones right now. And by the way, Danny Bonaduce, Life Coach, brought to you every weekday morning by Goldberg Jones Divorce for Men. Call 1-800-DIVORCE. Coming up next, Who Said It?